The government says it is not broke amidst economic hardship. Another section of road collapses along the Okuk Highway. And magnitude 5 earthquake in East New Britain.
This is National EMTV News with Hope Imaka.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Wednesday's news. Public sector reform will be the priority of the government going forward as it tries to create opportunities for investments and to restore investor confidence at a time when the country is facing serious economic challenges. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill made this remark during the opening of the 2016 National Leaders Summit today. He says bureaucratic red tape and processes that impede growth will be cut back.
The Gateway Hotel in Port Moresby was packed to capacity for the 2016 National Leaders Summit. Government ministers, members of parliament, departmental heads including other stakeholders were all present for the opening address by Prime Minister Peter O'Neill. Mr. O'Neill highlighted the importance of this summit and what it means to the country.
This meeting gives us an opportunity to set new plans, new goals for our 8 million people, men, women, and children in this country. It also gives us an opportunity to look at honestly what we have done over the past few years and look at it honestly as to where we are today as a nation. In particular, we look at sectors like our public sector, how we can do better in 2016, and of course beyond 2016.
He outlined the challenges facing the country posed by the drop in global commodity prices. However, he was optimistic about the future. He says the government is taking appropriate steps to manage the economy through these trying times.
So today, as we have this summit, we are approaching the management of our country in a very realistic manner so that we can effectively manage our national economy in a very much changing global environment. We are trying to avoid the shocks that are beyond our control. So in 2016 budget, as we presented in Parliament, we have in fact reduced spending to well below 2015 levels.
The government has made significant progress in its key priority areas of education, health, law and order and infrastructure development. However, O'Neill says more needs to be done and that is through reforming the public service.
Our challenge is to reform the public sector. Our challenge is to cut the red tape, cut the processes that impede our businesses from growing. It must be across the board. It must be to encourage investor confidence in the country. We need to commit ourselves to working together with investors and business sector across the countries, across many sectors.
This is crucial in creating conducive environment for investments in a time of serious economic challenges. The government is also looking at expanding the country's economic base by investing more in the agriculture and SME sectors. He says the country has for too long depended on the resources sector to drive the economy without developing other sectors of the economy that can potentially cushion the economic challenges experienced today. Mickey Kavera, National EMTV News.
The government of Papua New Guinea is not broke. This was the main message from Department of Treasury Secretary Dairi Vele. He made the remark when giving a presentation on the state of the economy and the 2016 budget at the 2016 Leaders Summit hosted by the Prime Minister.
Newspapers and on the news tomorrow and tonight that the government is not broke. All right? The government is not broke.
Secretary for Treasury Dairi Vele said it is more of a management issue where leaders and government departments continue to overspend.
We're still spending as if we've got a 2015 2013 budget, in which we're anticipating 15 billion kina revenues. That's not the case. We need to focus on what the budget has given us. We need to reprioritize our project plans so that we are focusing on what's been given to us and not what we want. If you stick to your budget as been allocated in 2016, you will find that life will be much, much easier for yourselves.
Regarding the country's fiscal performance, Secretary Vele said the 2016 budget cut shows the government has exercised economic discipline, economic responsibility, and economic prudency.
Can I reiterate the point? We are in February. If programs start in June, July, and September, asking for 100% of your funding in February makes it very, very difficult. And our Secretaries of Treasury are very popular when times are good, and we're extremely unpopular when times are bad. Right now, I know I'm very unpopular. But what we do need to understand, again, is your reporting. If you give us your cash flow profile, what you need, when you need it, we can try our best to make sure that we meet your targets. So again, I'm hoping that everyone is spending according to 2016.
Despite this assurance by Secretary Vele that the government is not broke, uncertainty still remains with certain public servants whose salaries were paid late, while others, like teachers, who say they have not been paid today as yet. At 4:45 p.m. today, Bank South Pacific shared a public notice on its Facebook page that there was a delay in receiving pay files for the government's main pay file and Education Department's file. BSP is now working with the relevant departments to resolve the matter. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
After 2 whole days of disrupted traffic on the Bena Bridge in the Eastern Highlands, another road section collapsed last night, cutting off traffic for much of the day. A section between Kainantu and Yonki collapsed overnight, cutting off traffic until local villagers cleared part of the landslip to allow traffic to pass. Meanwhile, a temporary bridge order from Mount Hagen arrived today in Goroka. Construction began just after midday.
The first sign of hope for close to 2,000 people stranded along the Bena section of the Highlands Highway. A Bailey bridge was transported last night by road from Mount Hagen. A works crew worked non-stop to get the bridge here. By 11 a.m., the crew began moving the main parts of the bridge into position. Baileys are easy to construct bridges that can be erected within a matter of hours or days for larger bridges. The Eastern Highlands Provincial Works Manager expects the bridge to be ready by Friday.
We plan to work overnight. We have to play, because of emergency situation, we plan to work in the night up until 10 p.m.
Police and members of the PNG Defence Force Engineering Battalion in Leh have been deployed to the bridge to maintain security. And security has been one of the main concerns for provincial authorities as the crowd continues to build up. The damage bill for the Eastern Highlands alone, according to the Works Department, could reach up to 15 million kina. The districts affected say they don't have the money to replace the bridges.
Government got constrained lo money side. Na empire hardly lo yumi district miti modis pla kind heavy way mi by abrush mark lo mi pla.
If this one is into 2 million, we expect those into 1 million each or something like this.
These pictures filmed yesterday in the Dunantina local level government area show the extensive damage to roads, bridges and food gardens. People recovering from the drought are now hit again by the floods and are unable to plant crops. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Goroka.
A 5.0 magnitude earthquake struck East New Britain at around 5 a.m. this morning. No damages were reported. Senior volcanologist at the Rabaul Volcano Observatory, Ima Itikarai, confirmed this morning's earthquake to be tectonic related and not volcanic in nature. This morning's tremor was one of many that continued to shake parts of the New Guinea Islands region since last week. Meanwhile, Mr. Itikarai brushed off rumors of possible volcano eruptions, stating that the series of earthquakes were a result of tectonic plate movements and not caused by volcanic activities. The largest earthquake in the province measured 7.5 magnitudes in May last year, causing landslips and damaging properties. It also sparked a tsunami alert in the NGI region. 3 suspects of the alleged rape and murder of a mother in Morobe's Nabak LLG are still on the run. Police have begun a manhunt. It comes after the partially decomposed body of the mother was found 2 days ago. She was missing for 4 days. Bethany Harriman with this report.
This morning, confirmation from a community leader that a police manhunt for the 3 suspects implicated in the rape and murder of a mother in Morobe's Nabak LLG has begun. The partially decomposed body of the mom of 4 was found 2 days ago in an abandoned well. She went missing 4 days earlier. She is a widow. The youngest of her 4 children is still breastfeeding. The body hasn't been moved. The Provincial Disaster Office and the Angao Morgue has been notified. Police and community leaders are working together to bring the suspect to justice. Tension is still high. Gobadik village leaders are working to keep the family of the woman calm. Despite their frustrations and anger, the family want the suspects brought to justice. Yesterday, Morobe Governor Kelly Naru said the culprits must be caught and face the full force of the law. Law and Order Committee members and the interim president for Nabak have been working closely with police to apprehend the suspects. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Leh.
About 912 smallholder oil palm growers will delay their harvest following the collapse of the Ivole log bridge last Friday in West New Britain. The bridge, considered a lifeline for people living along the Okuk Highway, was washed away in last week's continuous heavy downpour. Hagi Oil Palm Limited General Manager Graham King says the collapse of the bridge may affect income revenue for both farmers and the Hagi Oil Palm Mill as their trucks use the route to transfer oil palm. Mr. King told NTV the oil palm industry generates an annual income of 1 billion kina in export revenue to government coffers, yet their road infrastructure has been in ruins for more than 10 years. 3 more temporary log bridges along the Biala and Hoskins Highway will be under threat if rain continues. Ahead in the news, 3 women charged under the new Internet and Communication Act, and police in Morobe clamped down on lawlessness and reinforced strict discipline in the force. Welcome back to the news. The Waigani Committal Court has issued a warrant of arrest on 3 women in Port Moresby after they failed to appear in court this morning. Missy Babata, Bertha Yapi and Delma Nablup were charged on 1 count each for using offensive language under Section 266 of the new National Internet and Communication Technology Act of 2009. It is alleged the 3 committed the offense together. Tekla Gunga reports.
The court heard that on 14 December 2015, the 3 defendants were at the McGregor Police Barracks. Using social media, they created Facebook accounts and sent offensive messages to the complainant, Arabella Makaula. They were arrested and charged and are now out on bail. The court heard this morning that this is the 4th time they did not appear in court. On these grounds, Senior Magistrate Cosmas Bidar issued directions for police to arrest the 3 and ensure they appear in court. 2 other warrants of arrests were also issued this morning because the defendants failed to appear in court. The warrants were issued to arrest Ven Murovo, who was charged for 1 count of grievous bodily harm, and Itovi Tom, charged for 1 count of willful wounding. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
On a related note, another woman appeared before Senior Magistrate Cosmas Bidar at the Waigani Committal Court for improper use of ICT services. Julie Mu was accused of sending obscene text messages using her mobile phone. Mu was also charged under Section 266 of the new legislation of the NICT Act.
It was alleged that Mu sent a text message containing vulgar language to a senior police officer and another man, Elidi Shia. However, Magistrate Bidar could not hear the case because under the new act, NICTA offices are supposed to prosecute the offenders in consultation with police prosecutors. The court was told that a letter was already written to NICTA for assistance in moving the case forward.
Moo's case was adjourned to March 10, awaiting response from NICTA. Under the new act, any person found guilty of the offence will spend at least 3 years in prison or pay a fine of 20,000 kina. Last week, a Medang man appeared for mention on the same charge. Brendan Kadeyu was alleged to have commented on a Facebook post discriminating the Medang MP Nixon Duban. Kadeyu is out on a 300 kina bail. His case was also adjourned to March 10, awaiting police investigations. Thekla Gunga, National MTV News.
A man was set free by the Waigani Committal Court today after he was charged for 1 count of sexual penetration of an underage girl. Senior Magistrate Cosmas Bidar struck out Richard Kemben's case on the grounds that there was not enough police evidence and the fact that the case had lapsed 3 months. Vasinata Yama with this report.
Kemben's face was lit with joy when Magistrate Bidar struck out his case. Kemben was alleged to sexually penetrate a 7-year-old girl in Port Moresby last year. Since his appearance in court on the 24th of September 2015, court did not receive any instruction on the progress of the investigation. The case was struck out on the grounds that the informant, Senior Constable Andrew Gege of Poroko Police Station, was sick and was unable to complete the investigation. Senior Constable Gege did not inform the court on who the new informant was. In other cases, another man accused of sexual assault appeared for his second hearing. Pimbo Peter was charged for 2 counts of sexual penetration and 1 count of sexual touching. The court heard that if no files are submitted when the case returns to court on March 22nd, it will be struck out. Meanwhile, the court ordered police to refund Richard Kemben his 500 kina bail money. The court has passed its judgment. However, the victim in this case will live with that scar for the rest of her life. Basinata Yama, National MTV News.
Lay police are re-strategizing in efforts to crack down on all illegal activities in the city. The first step is the implementation of foot patrols. Police will also be working with local MPs in the province to implement the sector patrolling concept.
Lay Metropolitan Commander Anthony Wagambi Jr. says Lay City will be divided into 4 patrol zones with support zone units to support its suburban stations. The new plan will help police provide more presence and help them to respond quickly to incidents. More police presence will be felt in areas like the main bus stops, markets and shopping areas. This is to deter both petty and serious crimes from happening.
Provide a more proactive approach to policing with more presence on the streets and to deter crimes from happening. We want to create a safe environment for the people to work and live in.
The new plan will help police cut down on the amount of work police have to do because of the high number of crimes. Wagambi says the aim is to prevent crimes from happening by investigating and then apprehending suspects. It is also their aim to create a safe environment for investors to do business. Mata Luis, National MTV News, Lay.
Police Internal Affairs Director Robert Ali has warned officers to be careful when executing their duties and act within their jurisdiction. Mr. Ali says 2016 is a year of discipline and his office will be subject to implement disciplinary actions against police officers. Before they take actions against officers, the Directorate is conducting refresher courses to remind officers of their professionalism.
Refresher courses were carried out by the Police Internal Affairs Directorate to remind officers on their professionalism relating to work ethics, dressing code and discipline. In Port Moresby, officers from each unit have undergone discipline training since last week. Today, officers from the Killer Barracks took their training at the Gordon's Training Center. The discipline training aims to rehabilitate officers and inform them about disciplinary actions the Directorate will take if they are found acting outside of the jurisdiction. Police Commissioner Gary Bucky has declared 2016 as a year of discipline and already pressure is building up within the Internal Affairs Directorate. With the Commissioner's eyes on the Directorate, they are now carrying out training to remind officers to be careful when executing their duties.
The approach that we have taken in Internal Affairs and will be soon to come into effect once when it's endorsed by the Commissioner, it also operates on the same principle, but it's geared towards tackling the individual, the defects in the individual, as well as the legal, within the Commissioner's command and control value chain.
Officers are reminded to be punctual on duty, apply dressing code, and perform their duties exceptionally. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
And now looking at our finance news. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.3290 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.3215 $0.4488 Australian dollars, $0.28454 euro, and 36.44 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa, and copra closed the day lower. Palm oil and crude oil closed lower, while copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 223 points higher, the ASX closed at 26 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 63 points lower. The business community urged to contribute to sustainable development. That story, among others, after the break. Welcome back to the news. United Nations Resident Coordinator to PNG, Roy Trivedi, is calling on Papua New Guinea's business community to play its vital role of helping to achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Sustainable Development Goals seek to eliminate poverty and hunger and address other pressing issues within the next 15 years.
The 17 Sustainable Development Goals builds on the success of the Millennium Development Goals and aims to go further to end all forms of poverty. The new goals are unique because they call for action by all countries to promote prosperity while protecting the planet.
Challenging businesses to do in our country is not only to deal with the problems of today, but really thinking about what are the leapfrog technologies that can help Papua New Guinea get from where we are in terms of our development challenges to addressing challenges for the future. And that means
the SDG presents a framework for business to grow and gain competitive advantages. Leading organizations are starting to view the global goals as a framework to differentiate them. Mr. Trivedi says that this gives businesses the opportunity to get involved with communities and work on key issues that face communities here in Papua New Guinea.
Is the issue around literacy. If you look at literacy in our country, maybe 60% of people at best, between 40 and 60% are literate. And I mean both being able to read in different languages, but also numeracy is another problem.
Mr. Trivedi said that one of the biggest lessons that was learned from the implementation of the MDGs is that governments alone cannot achieve the goals. He said engagement from public as well as private sector and communities is essential and that they need to start early to achieve the SDGs and work together effectively and efficiently.
We begin the new Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 new global goals that the world has committed to. We want to make sure that not only is this the issue for government, not only governments will be implementing these goals, but at an early stage, building the links with private sector, building links with civil society organizations, community-based organizations, and everybody working together to really achieve these goals.
The 17 Sustainable Goals recognize that ending poverty must go hand in hand with strategies that build economic growth and address a range of social needs, including education, health, social protection, and job opportunities, while tackling climate change and environmental protection. Adelaide Sirox Kari, National EMTV News.
The Gabadi Road leading into the heart of Gabadi village is in need of immediate maintenance. Villagers are worried it may worsen, making it impossible to travel to the main road with their produce. After the continuous downpour in the past week, the road is now in its worst state.
Villagers of Gabadi said the road has not been sealed or upgraded since it was established. It runs for about 3 kilometers into the heart of the village. During rainy seasons like this, the road is a stretch of muddy puddles after another. Some cut so deep in the soil, car drivers created their own roads around the puddles to avoid getting bogged.
The government has to consider this road. I think this road is really worse. And if we saw the rain continues, I think we will be carrying all our things from here to the main road.
Elder in the village worried that if it get any worse, they would be the most disadvantaged.
Road only walking how much years now. So plenty of line of place I'm all in the road. Time no dry season or car can go come that's all. I'm no rain. I'm by hard straight.
They are appealing for the government to look into fixing this matter. In the opinion of villagers, it has been a norm that members who stood for election often overlook villages like this because they did not have the numbers to vote. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
Proposed projects by the Australian Centre for Agricultural Research and the PNG Forest Authority are focused on addressing climate change issues, increasing food security and generate income for rural Papua New Guineans. These projects are the development of the canarium or gallop nut industry and the management of teak tree for timber production and sandalwood tree for sale. Eric Harupma with this report.
The Asia projects include private sector development of the canarium or gallop nut industry, development of durable wood products and improvement and management of teak and sandalwood trees.
The workshop really is to both inform our stakeholders what work the ACR forestry program is currently working on, to hear information from them about changes in their policies and programs, and then to look forward to identify what sort of research should we be doing in the future to help Papua New Guinea and rural people in particular who rely on forest resources to improve their livelihood.
On the wood processing, as Tony said, and these are the projects that PNGFA is involved in through our Forest Research Institute and also some of our offices here in Port Moresby. So what we're looking at is for the two value-added wood processing, we're looking at trying to identify the properties, as he was saying, on the good timber that we can use to produce. I think what we're interested in is furnitures.
This involves preserving a forested area to nurture seeds from the wild and replanting them for timber production. This will benefit people in the rural areas.
Now, is in this country taking the lead in developing a roadmap to take this emerging industry forward. We've selected high-yielding gallop trees, and we are looking very much and have worked on integrating cocoa with gallop with cocoa and other food crops.
It is focused on increasing food security, addressing climate change issues and generating income for the people in the rural areas. However, the challenges now is lack of sufficient data due to funding constraints coupled with customary land issues which are impeding the progress of these projects. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
While the country grapples with cash flow issues, an explosive NGO report claims that PNG continues to lose hundreds of millions of kina in revenue in the logging industry. Titled The Great Timber Haste, the report by a US-based policy think tank, Oakland Institute, claims that PNG logging industry is losing millions through undervaluing of the country's timber exports.
The report found that with PNG's timber exports at 3.4 million cubic meters in 2014, the country has now become the world's largest exporter of tropical wood, a title previously held by Malaysia. In 2014, while 5 other major exporters of tropical woods, Cameroon, Congo, Gabon, Myanmar and Malaysia sold their woods on average at $388 per cubic meter, PNG sold 46% lower. The difference in prices amounts to over $600 million in annual revenue lost for the industry. This report comes at the back of a report Oakland did on SABLs in the country, an issue that still has not been resolved by the government. Act Now PNG, an NGO that has been following this issue, say the new report adds to the urgency for the government to implement the COI recommendations on SABLs.
We've lost millions, and this need to cancel or to act on the SABL Commission of Inquiry and to give back this land back to the landowners. And this particular report actually puts more weight onto that need.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
New Ireland Governor Sir Julius Chan has conveyed deepest condolences to families and relatives of a longtime staff, Anton Buzza. Anton Buzza from Sialum in the Morobe province has been working as Sir Julius' driver for over 30 years during his time of death. Sir Julius described late Anton as a man of full of life and a loyal servant. Anton was still working as Sir Julius' driver until his death. To the US elections, and many on the internet have been trying to imitate Hillary Clinton's barking campaign. However, rival Republican candidate Donald Trump is refusing to do the bark thing.
The bite is proving worse than the bark, as the internet nips at Hillary for her doggy imitation, juxtaposing music videos and movie clips.
Bark like a dog.
All because Hillary told a story about an old political ad that featured a dog trained to bark at lies. Wouldn't that come in handy for following around her Republican rival, she said.
Every time they say these things, like, oh, the Great Recession was caused by too much regulation.
Her inner terrier.
She's funny. I don't know if this was a tribute to the Westminster Dog Show.
One that Donald Trump refused to emulate.
If I ever did that, I would be ridiculed all over the place. I won't do it. I'm not going to imitate her. So there'll be no barking.
As if Hillary didn't face ridicule? An actual dog barking interruption at a Trump rally last month was one of the many mocking memes making the rounds.
What was that? Is that a dog? Uh-oh. It's Hillary.
It's enough to make Triumph the insult dog.
Senator, is it true you tried to shut down the government so you could go to a Nickelback concert?
Feel overshadowed on the campaign trail. But Hillary is in the puppy league compared to a guy dubbed Psycho Dog Man for his canine impersonation. An Australian retiree went viral back in 2010 after imitating some scary neighborhood dogs.
They came bounding over.
His imitation was remixed. It even scared real dogs. Though Psycho Dog Man suffered some of the exact same mockery.
Who let the dogs out?
His dog would make mincemeat of Hillary's.
Who let the dogs out?
Trukai Sports is next. I'll be back after these short messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. To football, NSL midfielder Vanya Mulligan believes that his side, Medang FC, could one day be a powerhouse in PNG football, with hopes they will one day make it big on the international scene as well. 25-year-old also feels that Medang has enough young talent for the future of the club to be bright.
Meet 25-year-old Vanya Malagian. The left-sided midfielder has been an integral part of the success of Medang football clubs. Phenomenal ride over the past 2 seasons of the Telecom National Soccer League. Originally from Milne Bay Province, the left-footer considers himself a full-blooded Medang town kid. Malagian is wary of the talent that Medang could produce in the future.
Me look at plenty of talented boys behind me. I mean, we play normal local competition where some player meeting or should make him team too. Or young boys, 15, 16. How talented all got the Milugos and all should stop inside the team. Long run lo Medang FC Milugos but still but Medang FC but stop long and level. Lo maybe not a time limit but yeah. Still me believe was Medang FC but make a league go some blah.
Hekari remains an enigma for Medang FC. Over the past 3 years, only 3 clubs have ever beaten the 9 times NSL champions, and one of them is Medang FC. In May 2015, Medang suffered their heaviest defeat, an 8-1 thrashing at the hands of Hekari United, a humiliating loss that many saw as the end of Medang's season. But it was only 3 weeks later that the tables would turn, Medang fighting back from a 1-0 halftime score to take a narrow lead and then further extend it in the dying stages to beat Hekari on home soil in a memorable semi-final victory. The future looks bright for Medang FC. Currently, the team failed to qualify for the second stage of the NSL this season. But belief is that with the talent they possess currently and the youth base they contain, it is only a matter of time before the regional stage beckons. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
Executive Director of the agency in charge of all sporting venues, Peter Tamalili Jr., has said the Sports Foundation has developed business plans to generate revenue to sustain the facilities. This announcement was made following the handover of the Games Village to the University of Papua New Guinea yesterday.
Over 1 billion kina was spent on the upgrading and rebuilding of the sporting infrastructure in Port Moresby, and while it was a timely decision by the national government for the hosting of the 2015 Pacific Games, the PNG Sports Foundation has a huge task at hand in generating enough revenue to sustain and maintain the venues in the years to come. While the Games Village has been handed over to the University of Papua New Guinea, many of the other venues remain under the watchful eyes of the foundation.
The 2 blocks are part of the bigger picture of where the government invested, you know. These 2 blocks becomes a legacy of the Pacific Games, that because of the Games, these facilities were built, and so by university allocating these 2 blocks, we are able to then leave that legacy for us, and those 2 blocks will be used like we made mention of. It's a revenue generating for the foundation, but more importantly, it's just focused on athletes and creating the environment for the athletes.
Chamalili told MTV in 2015 one of their key deliverables for the new year would be to create business plans and modules for each of the venues. These business elements are based currently around the developed infrastructure in Port Moresby. Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Kato Otio has been named in the Canberra Raiders squad, which will take on the Newcastle Knights in this weekend's trial match. Besides the Auckland Nines, this will be Otio's first NRL match.
Otio proved to be a force to be reckoned with after putting on an impressive performance at the Auckland Nines tournament. PNG RFL chairman Sandy Saka congratulated Kato Otio on making it into the Raiders.
Kato, it's from a trial, train and trial contract. He's been able to secure a 1-year contract with the Canberra Raiders. We wish him all the best for this year, and he, depending on how he goes. I know he's got a very good work and training ethic, attitude and work ethic, so he will succeed. And hopefully through successes like that, they can provide a motivation and, for our young boys coming up to aspire to be the next Kato Otio.
Coach Ricky Stewart will use the trial match to select his starting 17 for the round 1 clash against the Penrith Panthers. Blake Austin will be missing from the trial match as he recovers from shoulder surgery. Sean Fensom has also been ruled out as a precaution following a broken arm in the pre-season. Both players are expected to be fit and ready for round 1. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
As the 2016 Rugby League season approaches, Queensland Rugby League has already geared up by providing training workshops for referees. NRL coaches and mentors Shane Hayne and Andrew Dunneman attended the workshop on Monday. Like players, referees play an important part of the game and are striving to improve their fitness and skills. The sole purpose of the referee training workshop is for the referees to move up on the ladder onto the NRL competition. QRL referees who have made the transition in recent years to the full-time NRL squad include Chris Butler, Gavin Morris and Brett Suttle. That ends True Kai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, some showers for all centres. In the Momase region, showers for Lae and Madang and rain showers for Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands, rain showers for all centres. And in the Highlands region, rain showers for all centres. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of Papua New Guinea except Samurai Island through Cape Vogel to Finschhafen. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samurai Island and with waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas 2.0 to 3.0 meters. Waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitis Strait, including CRC Islands, Dampier Strait to Long Island to Madang to Bogia with waters west of Bogia to Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian borders and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands to northern half of New Island, seas 2.5 to 3.0 meters. Waters of New Island and to east and west New Britain to Bougainville, seas 2.5 to 3.5 meters. And looking at the ocean forecast for PNG areas, in the Coral Sea, seas rather rough with northwest to southwest winds at 20 to 34 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas moderate with patches rough with northwest winds at 15 to 25 knots with gusts. At the Bismarck Sea, seas rough with northwest winds at 25 to 34 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas moderate to rough with northeast to northwest winds at 20 to 34 knots. Now recapping our top stories for tonight. The government says it is not broke amidst economic hardship. Another section of road collapses along the Okuk Highway due to floods. And magnitude 5 earthquake in East New Britain causes landslides and damage to properties. And that's the news, sports and weather for tonight, Wednesday the 17th of February 2016. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Hope Imaka. Pleasant viewing. Good night.